Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
All right, guys, welcome to Trace Amigos podcast 25-5. Can't believe we're already a quarter way through the season. But had a bye week. Let's hope the guys down there enjoyed the win but got refocused. Because I think we all remember last year jumped out 7-1 record, looking great, and then did not finish strong. So hopefully, I know Elko's been talking about that and talking about it. So hopefully the fellas are listening. But we got a battle on our hands this week. Auburn, we're heading into SEC play. Auburn's never easy. They've always got athletes. So we got a battle on our hands. I'll let Mark and Seth introduce themselves, and then we'll go into some kind of self-scouting things we saw going back and watching the first three games. So, Coach Brown, tell us about yourself.
My name is Coach Brown. I've coached 20 years in high school football and got out. It's kind of a trend in education now, getting out.
That's
so I
true.
got out about 4 years ago, and I'm a Rollo Insurance Associate here in Carthage, Texas. We like to refer to ourselves as the City of Champions. Kind of won a couple of state championships in the last 18 years, like 10. So got to be part of 5 of those. Love watching film. Love talking football. It's hard on this side when you're not at practice every day. You don't really know these guys. But love doing it. Love Aggie football. Even though I went to North Texas because that's where the money was. Grew up in Aggie.
All right. Seth, tell them about yourself, boss.
Similar story. Former coach, 16 years at various not very loaded with talent programs. We were coaching at the Oklahoma States of the world, where we're not as much with the NIL dollars, so to speak, in the high school version of it. So anyway, but a lot of fun here. I haven't busted out this stat in a while, so I thought it was time for it, that this podcast averages 2 state championship rings per coach. So former coach, I should say. So just put that in your pipe and smoke it. Now, as far as talking about the bye week, I'm glad you jogged my memory. I had to pull it up in a text message thread talking with people, but we've been historically bad off of bye weeks at A&M. But I hate the historical stats that go past the coaching staff that's currently there. I really don't like that. And so I look back at Elko as a coach, as a head coach, not as a defense coordinator, as a head coach. We got 3 years of data now. This dude's elite off of buys. If you go back to last year, we beat Mississippi State away. Program wasn't exactly in the most steady state at the time that game was played. If you remember, Connor Wigman started and played that whole game. That was when we were in the flux before we kind of settled who we were late. Then we had the bye week before New Mexico State last year, which I think is the dumbest time to have a bye week you could have just about have before your November cupcake. But so he's 2-0 last year off the buys. And then at Duke in 2023, off of his bye weeks, he was 2-0 as well, beat North Carolina State 24-3 and beat Pitt 30-19. And then in 2022, it was a weird year. They played some Thursday night games, so they only had one true bye week, and they beat Boston College 38-31 his first year there. So as a head coach, he is 5-0 off of a bye week. And so that was good to see because, yes, under the previous administration, the bye week was typically not a positive. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Thanks for looking that up. That gives me some encouragement there. All right, so I went back, I know we all looked at some self-scouting. Man, I tried. I was going to make some charts, breakdown. Let me just tell you, we are extremely diverse. We are diverse in how we line up. We are diverse in our personnel groupings. We are diverse in our motions. I think we use the tight end extremely well. I went back and looked, and we're 3 games into the season. There's only one play so far this season. We haven't had at least one tight end on the field. We run a ton of 11 personnel and 12 personnel, which I think is great. And it's not. We do a great job of using those tight ends, both flexing them out, putting them in the line, using them in max protection, using them in route running. Flexing them out and using them as a blocker on the RPO. So it's going to be really hard for a defense to prepare for all the different formations, personnel groups, and motions that we have. Mark, I wanted to ask you, coming from a defense side, how hard is that when an offense you're going up against is able to be as diverse with their personnel groupings, formations, and motions? Or, a lot of times the goal of that is to get leverage on the defense pre-snap. And so I would imagine that makes it difficult when they don't line up with just your normal spread 3-by-1 or 2-by-2 like a lot of the schools do these days.
Well, one thing is if you're just talking, okay, we're in base and we're gonna be spinning down to a one high safety look. That's not hard with motion. The in and out motion can mess with you a little bit, especially if it looks like, hey, we're passing this off, we're bumping it. That can be hard, but where it really hurts you and where it really could hurt like people that like to blitz. You have a blitz set up and now you change the motion, you change it to from 3-by-1 to whatever, and you run a guy across, getting into that blitz and playing it, and saying, okay, we're going to stay in the blitz and then not having a busted coverage, which gets A&M in trouble. I'll just tell you, it's really hard. That's what people do to Elko is they know he's going to bring an exotic and they do something like that. And then you get a guy running wide open down the field, and that's where it hurts.
Okay. Seth, what are you seeing going back and scouting those first 3 games?
Just dug into some numbers too, but just off the top of my head, we'll do the numbers, then I'll talk about my gut feelings. The pass to run ratio last year was 464 to 460, which is about as 50-50 as you can get. This is off Pro Football Focus, and Pro Football Focus usually tries to label a run if it was called. It labels a pass, even if it is resulted in a scramble. So I liked it better just because it does label what the intent of the play was. This year, so far through our 3 games we've played, 131 passes to 82 runs, 62% to 38% pass to run ratio, which is significantly different. We are a completely different offense on film now. And look, guys, these defensive coordinators they'll run reports and they'll have these numbers. They'll use their gut, what they see on film, and these numbers to make their decisions. And last year, the decision was quite clear. Every time somebody played us, crawl down and make the receivers beat you. Load the box and don't let Le'Veon Moss beat you. Well, that is no longer the case. It's completely flipped on its head on how. Now, what's funny is that we've seen in these first 3 games, defensive coordinators still called things based on what they saw last year, and now we've put 3-game sample size out there. We're in this part of the season where I am extremely, extremely interested to see how we're played going forward. Another note, it was the wide receiver screen. Last year, we kept calling for wide receiver screens, but then if you watched how we blocked it on that first play versus Florida, that might have been why we didn't run as many as we thought we should have. But just pure wide receiver screens. We're not talking about the ones like a slow screen that develops with lineman pulling. We're talking about slinging it out there and letting the receivers block and one receiver run, or the tight end block. We were 6% last year. So far, we're 15%. And that was with hardly any ran against Notre Dame. That's pretty interesting stat, too, because now, as a defensive coordinator, even though we didn't do it versus Notre Dame a lot, there's that we talk about stretches, right? Horizontal stretch, like that's a concern. We obviously know the vertical stretch is a concern. And so it's but what hasn't dropped off, and this is what's kind of cool, is that even with this with Colin Klein's lack of stubbornness and the changes he's made in the offense, we are still number 5 in the nation on red zone touchdown percentage at 90% so far, and number 2 in the SEC. So that has not dropped off. He's revamped this offense to stretch the field horizontally and vertically, but when we have converted touchdowns in the red zone, which we did well last year too, even without the other things. So that is, and that's what the numbers kind of back up what you see on film. What our gut says is that we are more explosive and more dynamic, but it's cool to see that when the field is shrunk, we're still doing what Colin Klein's bread and butter was, which was converting to touchdowns in the red zone. And like y'all said before, I am super interested to see what DCs do going forward. With this 3-game sample size.
And I was going to tell you mentioned the RPOs. I went back and I'm going to tell you, we did not use a lot of RPOs against Notre Dame. There was not. There was a handful, but if you go back watch Utah State and UTSA, we used a lot more RPOs in that game. When we got into Notre Dame, it was either a run or it was a pass majority of the time, and there wasn't any, reading and doing that. And I don't know if it's, maybe Klein thought
It
we're
was-
on the road. Let's not put too much on Reed's plate. Let's keep it, but
I think that was more Notre Dame. They play a lot of man. And so when you're RPO and your guy's in man, it doesn't really matter. He doesn't have his eyes back there anyway. So I think that was a little bit more dictated by how Notre Dame plays defense.
it might have been. And I think I might have said this on the last podcast. I'm not sure, but I've always been of the belief if I go into a game and another team's going to run a trick play in the first quarter, they're playing scared. They're not real confident that they can just line up and beat you. So when they ran that reverse pass or flea flicker, whatever it was in that first quarter, I actually got pretty confident about the game at that point. And I was going to say, when we get down on the goal line, you talked about our red zone offense. Man, I love what we get. That's when we're getting down and we're going ugly. We're going ugly with 2 tight ends. We're going ugly with 3 tight ends. But we're also, we're not selling out to run the ball in that form. We've thrown enough nakeds and enough other things off of that to keep a defense honest. And I love what he does when he gets down inside that 5 yard line. So, Mark, what are you seeing on the defense?
Yeah, it's such the same story. We're very good at times, and then we have big bust. And a lot of it is we get caught in the wrong gap. We just I think if I have no idea what they're saying, but if I'm watching film with these guys and I'm preparing practice plans for an off week, we're gonna go over run fits on blitzes over and over and over and just have the offense just give us different looks. Like we're blitzing and we're running and they're running GT or whatever, or G fold, especially with Auburn coming up, but they do a lot of G fold stuff. I'm gonna run that at them and I'm gonna teach them, look, this is how you have to fit it up. Yeah, it's a get to the quarterback, but now it's a run. How are we fitting it? Are we sound? Those type of things. Run fits are a big deal. I hate to go back to last year, but this is a reoccurring theme with Elko, the back out. The back out on the rail. Cassius made a great play. He was dropping. He's actually supposed to be in man with that rail. Once he recognizes it's rail, he doesn't stay with him and he tipped the ball. But that's a hard press, but at least they had an answer for it there. But the other one that was a big touchdown for Notre Dame was the back out. And people are starting to do this against not just Elko, but other people. They're using kind of like that slot tight end that's tight, but he's a slot, he's off the ball. And they're using that on the rail too. And it's the same concept. Just like we beat Notre Dame knowing that they were in 2-man bracketing our guys, that we would get a linebacker matched up on that guy. And so they know that, and that's the hardest thing when you run a rail. You run that corner off, you occupy the safety, and now the backer's got to carry a rail against a guy that's probably a better athlete, even as an H-back or a tight end. These guys can play now, and they can run, and they can catch, and so that's a concern I have is how are we dealing with that? You're gonna get it this week. We got to stop having bust. And I think that what you said about motions and stuff, sometimes we'll say, okay, we're going to bring the exotic and we're going to show 7. One guy's dropping out and 6 are coming. And then we have a huge bust in the back end where we just let a guy go wide open because the guys are not communicating that. I don't know what the bust is. You don't know unless you're in it every week and you know exactly
Right.
who's responsible for what. But we've got to eliminate that. And I will say this, Seth's talking about last year versus this year. Well, last year we were getting a lot of turnovers, and we're not this year. I mean, we got a big one against Notre Dame, but like I said, it's a big one. I mean, we need some more strip sacks. We need to cause more fumbles. We need to get some more picks. And we've got to turn people over. In the SEC, and just like the Notre Dame game, sometimes it's going to come down to a possession or two that can change it from a 1-point game to a 14-point game. A couple of turnovers does that. Just like the block punt, I think kept Notre Dame where they were.
Yep.
So I would try to be working, Coach Phil Bennett. I don't know if you guys know Phil Bennett, coached at SMU. He's a big East Texas guy, and he came to speak to us one day, and we're just talking to him about, what do you think? What do we do? That kind of stuff. What's your mindset? And he said, look, remember this in coaching defense. It's whatever you emphasize. If you aren't emphasizing turnovers and really emphasizing it, then you're not going to be good at causing them. And if you're not emphasizing tackling, you're not going to be. So I don't care how you line up. I don't care what you draw on the board. If you can't tackle and you can't be sound and you're not emphasizing those things, then you're going to get exposed. And so, Monday at Carthage is a tackling day. We emphasized it. It was the first 10 minutes of practice. We did nothing but tackling, and it was emphasized. And we as coaches were challenged to, that had to be the most intense part of practice for us. We had to be excited about it. It had to be a big deal. We played the music. Tuesdays was turnover Tuesdays. We had a 10-minute period of nothing but all different ways to cause fumbles, scooping scores, picks, whatever. Tip drills in the DB thing. This is where you do it, but it was emphasized with music, and this is what we want as importance, and get the kids excited about that. So I hope that they did those things. Those are things that I would look at as I would work on our tackling and emphasize it heavily. I would make a big deal about it. This can't just be another Monday morning we're rolling out to practice. Oh my God, I'm ready to play. No, it's got to be, hey, we're excited to be here. We're going to work on tackling. We're going to be the best tackling team in the nation. That's thing. And I would say, and I don't know that Elko will do this, but if it was me and I self-scouted us, we are better in base than we are in blitz. And I know that goes against Elko's butter, but you talk about stubbornness to change, Seth. I would say,
Yeah.
let these guys eat a little bit more. Let them eat. Let them be the guys. Let the athleticism and the athletes that you have be the playmakers, and call your base and be sound, and then screw the motion. We know how to, our base defense, we're going to know how to adjust, whether we're in cover 3, man, we're in a 2 shell. We're going to know how to adjust to any motion in those situations. Let them eat. Let them eat. Just let them eat,
Well,
and we're going to have to do that a little bit without tries to cause havoc so much.
Well, and the good thing
Right.
I'll say going into this week is I think if anything, I watched a little bit of film on Auburn's offense. I didn't watch them a ton because that's not what I worry about. But um, this is a week that you can maybe stay in base a little bit more because that quarterback will hold on to the ball forever. And so, yeah. So if you trust Howell or Kennedy or one of those guys to get off the edge and get to him, then that frees you up to have better coverage on the back end, because you're going to need it, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But that Coleman kid that we all wish was wearing maroon and white is a problem. He's a problem.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, how that kid isn't being talked about as one of the top receivers in the nation by everybody is beyond me. Because yeah, I he's kind of, we had a kid, Mark will remember, down there at Carthage in 2013 when we won it, and he was 6'5", and we knew when we got to the down close to the end zone that we could just throw it up and there wasn't a soul that could do anything about it. And yeah, as good as I think Dez is in the blanket, if we don't get some pressure and do some things to help him out, Coleman can eat you alive. So all right, well, we'll get into the Auburn defense here. Seth, tell me what you saw watching some film on these guys.
The So looking at them, the defense, the defense is the best part of the team.
Yes.
By quite a margin, and the D line unit at that is the best unit by far. I know people from here have a lot of opinions about Durkin. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator, especially if you give him a one-way go. And I'll talk more about that when we get to the secondary discussion. But far and away, the defensive line, very quick and heavy players. They do a lot of bull rush. They have some good moves in single. They ate OU's left side alive. Number 77, the left tackle or the left guard, and the left tackle who they rotated a couple guys in. Those guys got ate alive, especially by the left guard.
Yeah, 91 and 97. Those two interior guys are men.
Yes.
They are grown
Yes.
men. And
Yes.
yeah, I saw the same thing. I think we don't have to run for 200 yards against these guys, but we've got to establish that we can get positive yards. And then I think we can do a lot of things on the back end to make them pay. But yeah, those two in the middle, 91 and 97, holy smokes, eat your Wheaties, boys. You're going to have a hard day. So,
Yeah, I'll throw a clip up here of what we're talking about. Now, granted, some of this is the OU's offensive line is just they use the air raid splits. And actually, as I was watching OU, which usually we watch more A&M than we do anything else. Please don't laugh at me, but I'm going to say that OU's offense is like A&M's 2012 offense, but the great value version of it. It's the generic brand version. That is not offensive lineman. That is not NFL offensive lineman playing for OU. They got a quarterback that puts the whole offense on his shoulders and moves the ball down the field. They have a literal token run game. Mateer is their run game.
yes.
Their run game honestly makes me want to puke. Just to be, I hate to be that, but I mean, like you tell me, Mark, if you're running jet sweep, should you unblock a 6 technique on the tight end? with no power read mesh. We're talking just a straight up, here you go, take it and run, buddy. No power read mesh. Yeah.
Good luck to you, brother.
The run game for OU is not a legitimate run game. And it is what I mean. I have friends who are OU, and I've texted with them, and they say like, we got to figure out how to run the ball outside of Mateer just doing it. I was like, I don't think that's happening this year, but yeah, you're right. Where we do have a competent run game, it may not have shown its purpose yet, or may not have shown it yet. But yeah, this is what you'll see with Durkin is if he doesn't respect one side of your offense, like he obviously had no respect for their run game. And what I'll show you this. We'll go back to this picture here. Like I don't know, you tell me. Does he look like he respects the run game there? This was late. This was about in the fourth quarter.
I saw this and I was like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" I mean, like, if they line up like that against A&M to take care of Concepcion and Craver,
Yeah.
Moss will have
please,
180 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Right. And Reed may have another 100 on top of it.
Yes.
You know what that is?
And
you know what that is? That is the 3-3 stack without the walk-up guy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And the 3-3. They left the third backer out and they left the walk-up guy out. And the 3-3 stack is terrible.
And here's the deal. I get it. 97, 91, your interior D-line is very, very good.
They are.
I think they're the strength. But you're telling me you can't outside zone that? I mean, the guy's giving you the leverage pre-snap. Like,
Matt.
Yeah.
Just look at this formation and go, okay, we're gonna go quarterback sweep left with a lead blocker.
Yeah. For 20 yards.
Now you want to know what's funny is that OU did complete a vertical seam route to what would be the slot receiver. They did vertical switch. They did 4 verts out of this basically, and they hit it. They hit the number 12 down there who was running what would essentially be
tight end.
The middle of field open beater route. Like bending it to the middle. That's what they hit. So they even threw into this, even though Durkin's begging them to throw the ball. They still completed it anyway.
Yeah.
This is just what I kept seeing. As the game went on, Durkin did more of this stuff. He was like, I dare you to run it. Please run the ball.
And they still couldn't. And they couldn't. So
no. So
well, I think the strength I think their defense is it's an SEC defense. They got athletes out there, but I think the strength of their defense comes from that D line. Going on to their linebackers, I'll let you start on that, Seth, and now I'll give a little input on it. What did you see out of those linebackers?
They're solid. They are not as good as the D-line unit. This defense gets good to worse front to back.
Yes.
And the linebacker group is not as good as the D-line unit, but they are really good if you let them do like we saw right there, where Durkin says, we're just gonna. We're going to send one of these guys from depth. They're good at that. You can tell. You talk about emphasizing, Mark. Like you can tell they emphasize blitzing from depth because they're really good at it. But if you're a balanced offense, it's a little harder to blitz from depth and be real effective versus the run. Versus somebody who can competently run the ball. So I am interested to see how that works. But they do. They come downhill. They play fast, and they're pretty solid group. Yeah.
Said I was just going to say, you could tell OU's offensive linemen were prepared for blitzing from depth because if you notice, every time they drop back in pass coverage, they're like, their heads are like this. It was goofy looking almost at times. How they were like,
Yeah.
And
It was
here's the
crazy,
sad
like-
part, Mark, is they did that and they still couldn't get to him. That's
Still had trouble. I mean,
But,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, seeing the linebackers, I see the same thing. They're good linebackers, not great. If you remember Xavier Atkins from Humble Summer Creek, he's a sophomore, number 17, starting for them. Big time recruit that unfortunately we lost out to Auburn on, and that was right around the coaching change. But he, in my opinion, is by far the better of the two. But they are good, just not great linebackers. They're not going to be the top echelon linebackers, but as you said, from the ball back, it gets worse. So the D line's really good, I think. Linebackers are okay, and then we get to that secondary. Seth, what did you see on them?
Yeah, they're definitely the weakest link of the defense. They so just like Durkin, what I have drawn up on the board back here is he did this to us last year too. When I first saw it, I'd kind of forgot. I thought, man, that makes you a little nervous as a quarterback. If you're thinking about from a quarterback coach, like what your guy sees out there, they show a two safety shell almost the whole time. Rarely ever play a two safety coverage. They're going to roll one of them down and play a robber technique for crossing, and they love to run cover 3 and 1 mainly. They are. They don't disguise man coverage very well, so that was good to see. They stare their guy down if they're in man, and they look inside if they're in zone, and there ain't much difference between the two. And they are, even though they play the robber technique, they get exploited. Right? I mean, the robber technique should take away some of those crossing routes, and they still get exploited for those quite a bit. And they're susceptible to quick screens. That's why when I saw the film, we didn't run any against Notre Dame, and I suspect we will see more of those this week, especially if they come out and play us like they had against OU coverage-wise and whatnot. What do you got, Coach?
Yeah, so what I said earlier, if we have any type of success running the ball, we're going to eat them alive in the secondary because they're going to have to slide that safety into the box, and they're going to have to play the numbers game. But we're going to have to show them we can run the ball. And I think we can. I know we haven't ran as much as we did last year, but we've got a different offense, and that's what I love to see about our OC is he's adapting to what we have. Last year, he adapted to what we had. And this year, he's doing the same thing. And so I still think we can run the ball. I know we didn't have any big, long runs against Notre Dame, but if you go back and look, Moss didn't have a terrible night. He did enough on the ground to keep them honest, and all of a sudden we were able to hit things over the top. And so I think we've got to run the ball. We don't have to have 200 yards, but we got to have some positive runs just to keep them honest. And then I think we can absolutely burn them on the back end. I mean, you look at Baylor's average at best, and they hit them for over 400 yards through the air. Now, I know that was the first game, and I'm sure the DC has made some corrections, but you give up 400 yards in the air to Baylor, and you got some problems. So.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to show this one clip here. This is a good synopsis of everything we're talking about. There's the two safety shell look, rolling to a 3, and getting hit. So I pulled out. I do like the bye week because we get to watch the other team more. We watch so much of our own, and scout ourselves and stuff. And they have been absolutely abused by the slot. 15 explosive plays allowed. 14 of those are through the air, and 8 of those have been from the slot. So they are very susceptible to the slot receiver burn them, and that's typical of a cover 3 team. That's not necessarily rerouting the slot very well and things like that, as you can see right here. So this was just a great clip to show you where they can be exploited. They've been hit on the slot fade 3 times. Baylor did it twice, and then OU did it once versus cover 1. Whenever they've seen a cover 1 look, they've checked into a slot fade and hit that abuse. Basically, so their interior, their nickel defender or their safety who's rolled down has had trouble in coverage. So anyway, that was a good clip to show you there.
I want you to remember you said that because my player of the game has a huge. There's a reason I picked him because of that. So go ahead.
All right, good. Yeah, so this is where I keep talking about with the sample size we've got, with what Durkin knows where they're weak. Right, like he knows if I got these numbers, he's looking at this stuff too. He's got to make a decision because this is the most balanced offense they've faced yet that can actually probably run the ball. And I know Durkin doesn't like I think Durkin's vice is you ain't running the ball on me. So far this season, that's what it's been, and he hasn't faced as competent of a run offense as we can be. So I'm interested to see the numbers game, because I will say that I have been pretty impressed with what Klein has done with the numbers game this year. Like, he takes what's given. And so I'm very interested to see when it comes to the box numbers game, is what I'm specifically referring to. Is he going to put people in the box and say, no, we this is how, we saw what you were last year. We still don't believe in your ability to throw the ball. Or is he going to sit back and say, like we saw against OU, dare you to run the ball? Y'all don't chunk it down the field 62%. I'm super interested to see how that looks this week with Durkin's game planning for us and whatnot. So,
All right. Well, Mark, what are you seeing from Auburn's offense?
Well, the quarterback is the quarterback, and I think everybody kind of knows the history of this kid. He is talented. He can make throws, but he panics early. He is a one read, two read guy. He's going to drop back. He's going to look at his primary. If the primary looks a little bit cloudy, unless he's just throwing the 9. I mean, that's one thing that they do because they have the receiver they have. Just 1, 2, 3, boom, I'm hitting the 9 right now. But if he's having to just read it, it's one read. He's a little cloudy. I'm not going there. Second read, he's not there. I'm taking off running. He does not ever go. I never saw him once against Oklahoma go from this side of the field to the next. If that makes sense. Like 1, 2, where's my backside guy? He will hit the check down really early, really quick, goes to the check down really early. And I think that's something that A&M needs to be aware of, because there's been some times when our check down coverage hasn't been great. So we need to make sure, like, we're bringing a blitz and they draw that back or that H back into a check down position. Somebody better be there, because they're going to get it to him right now and we can be exposed in a blitz. But, he throws the deep ball. They know what they got. They're going to throw the deep ball a bunch. And they'll throw it right into double coverage sometimes, because that's the call and that's what the quarterback's going to do. Hey, we're throwing the big A. Well, he did it against Oklahoma, and he threw it between the safety and the corner that were both there. He's not afraid to do that. So Ricks and Will Lee are going to get tested a bunch. The beauty for the safety is he's not going to look you off.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. If I had number 8 to throw to, I'd probably throw it up and let him have a chance too. That kid is special.
2 times a quarter at least.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and the thing about the quarterback is he's going to run the ball. He is going to get out and run. If you press the middle of the pocket, he's going to find an escape route. And it's not like, hey, find your escape route to the right and keep your eyes downfield. That dude is running. Once he gives it up, he's running.
And that's how they beat Baylor the first week of the year. Yeah, is they ran a ton of quarterback draw.
And even when it's not draw, like Seth was talking about, it's a designed pass. It's a run with him very quickly. You can't tell the difference between when he got flushed and when it was draw. Sometimes, he will be, if we can shut down quarterback run, they're done. I just don't think they can line up and beat us with their offense, playing their offense. If we don't let him, if he has 30 yards or less on the ground, we win this game. I believe that. You cannot let him run. Wide receiver, we talked about it over and over. They're freaking good. They're the best part of their offense. They get open a lot, and that bails him out. They get open quickly. A lot of times, though, they will get open late, and it's too late. The quarterback's already given up on them. You can see times where he starts to run, and two guys pop wide open in the secondary, and he's not giving them a chance
Too late
to get there. And I will say this, I think that was one of the biggest growth points I saw with Marcel in Notre Dame, is his ability to hang in a tight pocket, an NFL type pocket. In the NFL, they charge those quarterbacks with staying as long as they can. The growth of Lamar, his ability to do that. Marcel's growth was great. This kid ain't getting it done. He's not going to be on the draft radar to me. Just because of that inability, he won't stay in the pocket. But the wide receivers are really good. They can go get the deep ball. They're very good at it. The O-line, Everybody's kind of down on them after OU game, but they're still a pretty decent unit. They're not terrible. I don't think they're near as bad as OU's O line. But the problem is they faced OU, and let me just tell you, from what I've seen in college football this year, I don't think there's a better front seven than OU's front seven. And I know I coached one of those kids, and he led the team in tackles against Auburn, and he's a freaking GoDaddy at linebacker. But the way their defense is built is two things. It's built on speed, and they line up and play NFL defense. If you looked at what Venables is doing, and then you looked on Sunday, it's the same stuff. It's the exact same stuff. I would say that if you don't like to ever be the guy that copies on film, but I hope Elko watches a little bit of OU's defense, because they slanted their line a bunch, and it caused Auburn fits. When they just said, okay, we're going to take these 4 down linemen, we're going to have the back end shell with a 4 back end, and we're going to slant the D line, bail the guy on that side for coverage, and support it with the other guys on that back side with linebacker play. Those D linemen were free, man. When they were stunting, they were free. They ran a lot of 4-eye against them with a 3 down, and that wreaked havoc on all their G scheme stuff. Because the 4-eye, if you don't know what a 4-eye is, he's going to line up on the inside eye of the tackle, but he's actually, even though he's lined up on that guy and he's going to fit that guy most of the time, his eyes are on the hip of the guard. So when that guard pull, nobody can block him. He's too far for the center to block back on, so he just gets in that hip pocket of that guard. So those 4-eyes created a lot of havoc with all their G scheme stuff. So that's the stuff that gives them problems. Their protection schemes are very similar. They run a lot of slide protection. Now, I'll just tell you this is a little thing that we used to do at Carthage. And I almost hate to say it, but if we know that you're going to get slide protection and we know where the back is fitting, our blitz is based on that, right? So I'm not going to call it what it is. I'm not going to give that away. I don't want anybody that might be coaching against Carthage to understand this. But if you give them slide protection, the blitz is built in to know what the slide is and where it's sliding. So we're going to bring 2 off the edge away from the slide. Now you're outnumbered. We killed people with that because they gave simple. They'll do big on big. Now I will say that their slide protection, they do multiply it a little bit by doing this. They'll have an H-back left. They'll slide to the left, and the H-back floats back over and picks up whatever comes, and then they let the back. So it's kind of like a max slide protection. They did that a lot against OU because of what OU brings. And they did do some G scheme stuff. What do you call that? What do we call that protection
Nike.
at Carthage? It looks like Nike protection. They do some similar Nike. They're not good at it. The Nike guy is not great at picking stuff up in space, and that hurt them a little bit. And I don't think they respected the run as much, because OU doesn't care if you're running. Hey, we're bringing 7, block us, I dare you, whether you're running or not, and they fit it up well, and their linebackers play off blocks well. From what I saw with their O-line, linebackers get to the second level very quickly. Those linebackers at OU bounced off of it like it was nothing. Like York against Notre Dame, a guard is on him right now. It's over for him. That guard's on him and he's got him, but I don't think Auburn is as good in space with their O-line like that. I think York can get off of those a lot easier than he did against heck, even UTSA was better at staying on those. These guys are not good in space when they do that. OU gave them such multiple looks. Like right here, what is OU playing? Well, you're really not sure because of how they've got guys walked up and they're just kind of around. But they actually threw the deep ball here. They use their H-back as protection a lot, so they could just throw the deep ball. So right here, they're just throwing the deep ball, believe it or not. But they can run outside zone here. But it is a multiple spread unit. They'll line up in empty. They'll line up, with just regular doubles and a 1-back. So see right here. Oh, this is where they ran the deep ball. So you look at it, they've got a H-back slot. They've got a tight end tight to the line in a tight slot stand-up position. But notice the back. What do you notice about the back right now in his positioning? He's up. He's
He's
not
in
going to
front.
get
Yeah.
the ball.
Yeah.
This is protection, and they have a lot of these tells over and over. If you'll look at the number 15, his eyes are outside. He's trying to figure out, is there a guy
Who he's
spinning
got
down
coming.
with blitz here? They have so many tells. They're just match protection, so they can throw it to their 9. They're going to throw the big 9 right now. But there's some little tells in what they do with where they set up that, a defensive end can trigger. Right here, this was interesting what they did here. So they started out with a wing and a tight end up top, and then they motioned the slot wing over here, and they left the tight end backside. Notice what you see about offensive rules. Notice the wide receiver at the top. Is he on or off?
Yep.
Yep.
He's
He's
on.
on.
And so the
Yeah.
tight end is on. So what does that tell you about the tight end?
He's ineligible.
He's
Protection.
ineligible. This is a run play. So they're going to motion the wide receiver. Look where the wide receiver is. Look how deep he is. He's going to motion. I know it right now before I ever click play. So he motions inside, and they come back with their G read jet. Instead of just running jet from the other side, he motions back in, circles back. They fake it to him, and the quarterback pulls it and goes on the G. So they're just trying to outnumber you. But again, everybody on the field should know this is run. When they match protects with their H-backs, they're off the ball like the guy down here. But here he's just there to set an edge and go get the safety. So they're very tendency heavy with tails. They have a lot of pre-snap tails. And so I hope that our defense recognizes it. So here's how you know on Saturday. When they come out and if you see guys pointing at somebody, if you see York going right here, what he's saying is that's a tell. We know what it is. And I need to see a lot of that on film pre-snap from our guys. That just tells us that, hey, these guys are coached up. They know what they're doing. So in other words, he's not just handing the jet, he's reading something and they're folding a guy in there to block it. So a lot of tells. Their offense is not scary, but they can put points on the board just because of their athletes and what they can do with them. And they can get you, and they'll just keep trying it. He'll overthrow the big 8, and they'll come back to it a
Do it
few
again.
plays later,
Yep.
and they'll hit it. So
Yeah.
it's an SEC team. But they don't scare me schematically in any way. Their run game doesn't scare me. It's just stop their quarterback run, and I think you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, time to get to prediction time, and I know how you love that, Mark. You love doing predictions. I'm gonna predict 31-21. So I think we can score on them, but I think they're going to be able to put. Coleman just scares me. I'm ready for that guy to go to the NFL. So I think he can hit us a couple times with that. I could see the quarterback getting loose for one. So I think they score a couple on us, but I think we win by 10. We're at home. You talked about Elko coming off buys, 5-0 being off buys, so hopefully he's got him prepared. Hopefully he's had him in there talking to him like Mark's talking about, seeing the tails they give on offense. And so that's what I've got. What you got, Mark?
I have 38-24, so we average pretty much giving up 24, I think, or maybe more, but it's really about 24. I think we'll give up our average just because I think we're going to still see bust in this defense. This defense is growing. So I think they'll bust us for something, a back out rail, a big 9. Hopefully we won't see the big post in the middle like we did last year against them that we just busted and just let the guy wide open. I hope we don't see some of the empty checks that we ran last year against them that were terrible, quick taking the line. But we did it against the freaking Wildcat that Notre Dame did. They ran their quarterback all the way to the sideline, and everybody knows they're running the ball because of who's getting the snap now. And we're running Samford all the way over there to cover that guy. We fixed it in a couple of situations, like on 4th and 1, but stop doing that. Auburn is only putting their back and spread for reasons to attack the coverage. It's not about throwing the ball to him. But I think they're going to score a little bit. But I really feel like our offense is clicking. I think our offense will click at home. back at Kyle Field off a big win, off a bye week with some creativity against their defense. And I think we scored 38. So I'll say 38-24 Ags.
All right, Seth, what you got, boss?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 35-30 just because I do worry a little bit about Auburn being able to score. They are they can be explosive, and but I do think that even though they're such a weird statistical defense because they are number one against the run so far this season. That is, let's see here, I had it pulled up. They're averaging 1.86 a carry allowed, under two. Now, they have faced a token run game in Oklahoma, and Baylor's not exactly the most
Oh,
powerful run game
token.
either. But still, they are pretty good against the run. However, they are next to last in touchdown conversion percentage in the conference in the red zone. So that not only that, so it's a weird dichotomy of that. They're really, really good. They are elite at stopping the run, but also they're the opposite of elite once some team gets into the red zone. And I think some of that has to do with their woes in man coverage as well. They don't cover in man greatly.
No.
Just me, they give away the inside way more than I'd be comfortable with if I was coaching the secondary. They
Yeah.
play a lot of neutral man straight up, and they give you a two-way go even when they have a two safety. Anyway, I think that's part of the reason too. So I do think they're going to score, but I think we're going to score too. I really would love. I wouldn't mind this being a low scoring game. I would love the defense to get some mojo going. I still don't think it will be. I think 35-30, but I would love for the defense. Now, look, I would love for us to score 40-5 and they get and then give
Yep.
up 17. Don't get me wrong, but I just think teams that learn how to win every type of ball game there is out there. There's something special about that. So I would love to see the defense with a bye week of preparation, extra prep, like hang their hat on, we're going to go out here and win this game, And so even if the offense were to struggle a little bit establishing the running game or whatnot. So,
All right. Well, you talked about it. Players of the game. I am going to pick my East Texas connection from Timpson, Texas. And the reason I'm going to pick him is I think that they're going to be really concerned about KC and they're going to be really concerned about Craver. And we talked about how their nickel has trouble on that slot receiver. And I could see Bussy having a big day in that slot spot. And of course, he showed against Notre Dame. Of course, it got called back, but he showed against Notre Dame what he can do on a kickoff as well. And if you listen to Auburn's coach at their press conference, he's not real impressed with his special teams. And so I could see Bussy having an effect on this game in a multitude of ways. So that's my player of the game. What are you thinking, Mark? Who's your pick?
Look, I may pick a guy that you may not hear his name much all night. And that's Des Ricks. He's number 2 in the nation as far as corners and coverage and completion ability. I think that, if he's lined up on Coleman, we have a chance to stop that kid. Ricks has played great. Will Lee was the guy that's the blanket and, give me the Mizzou guy. Oh, we sent him a blanket. Yeah. But Ricks has been quietly turning into an elite corner. And so I think his ability to shut down whatever's on his side could be the difference in the ball game here. If he's able to shut down all the big plays on his side, you're talking about rolling safeties the other way and things like that. You could do some stuff here. I don't think that they would put Ricks and carry him with Coleman. They haven't so much confidence in Will Lee, they won't do that. But I'm going to pick him as player of the game. I hope he gets a pick. He's a guy that's so quiet over there, shutting his side of the field down that he doesn't get the big pick sometimes because they don't target him. So I hope he gets a chance at a pick, but I still think he could be player of the game on defense just for doing what he does against a team that lives and dies on the big play.
Yep. Yep. And Seth, who's your player of the game prediction?
Predicate this on the fact that I do think I am interested. I think Durkin is going to say, hey, we're going to stop the pass and we're just going to let our big dude stop the run, even with a light box. We're just going to win up front. And so we have to win up front against the light box. And I think that's why I'll give Le'Veon Moss play. He did not play against Auburn last year, if you remember. We didn't have him or Owens. It was Amari was the starter at that point. Bussy played a lot of running back last year against Auburn, played several snaps at running back, ran the ball out of the backfield quite a bit because we were so light at running back at that point. So I'm very excited at Le'Veon Moss' opportunity to. It's been a while. Even against Notre Dame, he scored 3 touchdowns. It was the quietest, 3 touchdowns I can remember, just because everything was through the air. It seemed like explosive wise, but he punched it in for us when we needed him to. And I can see this being, last year that was the buildup and the wins early was Le'Veon Moss putting the team on his back and running everybody down everybody's throats. And I'd be very excited to see that happen, because you want to talk about putting the cherry on top of the offense on of like, hey, no, yeah, we still can run the ball. We're just taking what they've been giving us. But here now, yeah, we can still run the ball. Le'Veon Moss, we still got an NFL dude back there. This is an NFL offensive line, and we're going to lean on people and push them. We don't care how big and country strong you are. That's what I'm excited to see, and I hope so. I really think if you tell me now, going back to Mark, if you tell me now that our corners have a great game, Cam Coleman doesn't torch us, and you tell me Le'Veon Moss has his highest rushing numbers of the year, I don't think it's a close game at that point.
I agree.
I think it's a complete watershed win for A&M. So
Go ahead and call your bookie, son, because it's going to happen.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
you heard it here. So thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing on YouTube. We're picking up subscribers on YouTube. Appreciate that. Appreciate the likes and shares on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the stuff. So this is Trace Amigos signing out. Gig 'em, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, gig 'em.
Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents, talk about Texas Aggie football.